The shooting against Donald Trump at the Pennsylvania rally last night comes on the heels of a number of other violent incidents against politicians recently. Just over 2 years ago, the former Japanese prime minister was shot to death. More recently, Slovakia's prime minister was shot multiple times in May, and the prime minister of Denmark was attacked by a man on the street in June. Here to discuss this further is political science professor Aurel Braun. Aurel, has there been a rise in violence against politicians recently, or are we just becoming more aware of it happening?
It has happened historically, but it is happening more often than we would like to think. And as you pointed out, it has been happening in the 21st century as well. Of course, we know that there was a huge impact of the assassination of Abraham Lincoln in the United States in the 19th century, but it is happening currently. The former president of Japan had been assassinated. There was an attempt against President Bolsonaro when he was a candidate in Brazil. And it tells us that the assassins believe that killing an individual will change the system. And the reality is that the system is affected, that individual leaders do make a difference. And this is one of the reasons they are targeted. What is especially terrible is that this is happening also in democratic states, such as in the case of Slovakia, or the attempted assassination in the United States. In this case, it was a candidate, and there was an attempt, of course, against President Reagan.
So what do you think is the reason behind this political volatility?
It is the belief that by extremists especially, that they can make a huge difference. The rhetoric often in politics gets out of hand, and there are individuals who are vulnerable to believing the harsh rhetoric, the conspiracies that they spin, and they conclude that for reasons of logic in the way they look at politics, that they are justified, and that this would bring about the kind of difference that they hope for. And sometimes exactly the opposite happens. Attempted assassinations on occasion strengthen a candidate. So if we look at the attempt to, it was a coup, they never got to actually shooting Mr. Erdogan, it strengthened him in Turkey. It extended his rule. If we look at Jair Bolsonaro when he was a candidate in Brazil in 2018, it helped him get the presidency. And in this case, with Mr. Trump, this may very well also help his candidacy. This has a deep impact both for domestic politics and for American foreign policy. We know that a new Trump presidency is raising very major concerns, not only in the United States, but also among NATO allies.
Mm-hmm. What is the historical significance of this attempted assassination on Donald Trump?
In this particular instance, not only has the assassination failed, but the reaction of Mr. Trump is very likely not only to embolden his supporters, but also generate a good deal of sympathy because he was very defiant. And this is the theme that is likely to sell in his campaign, that he is going to be defiant against what he calls the deep state, and he's going to be defiant an international system where we have seen increased globalization. This is why when we look at the election, and in a democracy, you cannot predict the outcome of an election, but should he prevail in that election, then I would not be surprised if studies will have shown that this failed attempt boosted his candidacy.
Well, thank you so much for your expertise, Aurel Braun, political science professor at the University of Toronto.
Thank you.